Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
All right. What's going down? Basin Boy Banner Special Edition Thor and not Brian. I got Mr. Charley Cummings joining me on today's video.
Hello.
So we got a little special event. We got the Saber Legion. I think anybody who watches this channel knows I do a lot of work with the Saber Legion when I can. I was at TSL 3, TSL 2. I do commentating. If you watch the ESPN2 special on August 8th for the Ocho and saw that stuff, thank you, by the way. But yeah, so I want to bring Mr. Charley Cummings in because he's one of the founders, one of the heads of the Saber Legion. Because we got the Saber Legion Ragnarok tournament happening this weekend in Eagan, Minnesota. It's actually tomorrow, October, what's the date today? 19th?
20th.
Yeah, so it'll be the 20th tomorrow. So I figured let's bring Charley in, who knows more about it than one of the main guys. He's had an awesome summer. Has placed high in both TSL 3 and Crossroads. We'll definitely get to that later. But I wanted to bring him in. Thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Did you make sure we had audio? Did I confirm? Nope, we're good. I checked. All right. So Brian's the producer for this video. So if anything goes wrong, blame Brian, like always. But yeah, so Charley, tell me a little bit just about the Ragnarok tournament, how it kind of came up, you know, what you're expecting. It's an 18-man tournament, single elimination, correct?
Correct.
So we'll do 21 matches in total. You are one of the two who have a first round bye. Now, I think a lot of that is due to your second place finish at TSL 3 and the second place finish at Crossroads, or am I wrong there?
I don't, to be honest. Terry did the seeding and he pulled it randomly, so I don't know if that's what it is or if there's some sort of seeding to it as well. Just because of, again, at this point, I've finished higher than anybody else in the bracket for the last couple of tournaments, but that's by no means meaning, you know, I'm the best fighter there. So
you're doing pretty well, though. I mean, you've had a heck of a run these past few months. You know, I mean, you can say you're not the best, but you've come in second in two straight, one invitational and the national tournament. So, you know, definitely not sitting here with any slouch either.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I've performed well this year. I felt really good. It was a good bounce back after my lack of performance in TSL 2.
A disappointing TSL 2, but rebounded nicely in TSL 3. You got a really straightforward. I mean, your nickname is Charley the Charging Turtle Cummings, so you have a very straightforward, aggressive style. Maybe talk a little bit about, you know, how you utilize that to your benefit and sometimes how it can be detrimental.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's actually been one of my first assets. So that helped me out in TSL 1 in the first tournament. It was kind of nobody really knew each other. Nobody had really been able to have a fight with each other outside of your own charter, so your own local area. And then it was the first time we all got to see each other. And people usually look and they go, "Look at that fat guy. He can't move that fast. Oh my God, he just hit me." So things like that. So they don't realize. And so my speed is very deceptive. And so that, in my mind, that helped me, kind of spring up on a bunch of people during TSL 1.
Take a couple people by surprise.
Correct. But at the same time, because of the fact that TSL, for the most part, was founded here, and the majority of the events, as you would know, are around these parts. I fought in almost all of those events, so there's more tape on me than just about anybody else. So I was becoming super duper one trick pony, and that's what happened in TSL 2. Where people would just see that charging turtle coming right at them, and all they have to do is just kind of back up a little bit, let me make my move, and then they would just counter me. And it was disappointing, but at the same time, it was I took a lot from it. I learned a lot from that. I also went through, because again, I was getting very predictable, very one trick pony type of thing. So then I really started looking at some of the other fighters, Steve Mattson in particular, and I don't want to say that I sort of mimicked his style, because it's impossible. Plus, he's so classically trained But I worked on his movement, his lateral movement, not necessarily coming straight forward, but really kind of taking different attack angles and coming and really making my opponents work, so to speak, rather than just kind of sitting back, because they know it's going to come, and it's going to come at any time, meaning that charging turtle. But if it's coming from a different angle, or if I can even give myself some, try to work on patience for myself, then I usually have a little bit more success on it.
Very nice, very nice. So how did the Ragnarok tournament come? I mean, we normally have our championship series events that I do a lot of. I know we got like Awakening, there's Resolution, there's a few of them. I'm drawing a blank on a couple of the other ones that we do yearly, but we normally only had one tournament, and now this is what, the third tournament of recently. Was Sun Crusher a tournament, or was...
So Sun Crusher had a tournament and a Champion League series too. So they had the tournament style, and then they also finished with the exhibition fights from some of the out-of-towners, like Jason Newing was there for that. Tom DiMartino from TSL3 was there. Terry went down there and fought down in that. So basically, what I think we can really attribute it to is the growth of TSL.
Right.
Is the fact that we now have these local areas, these strong charters, like what Tom Amoroso was able to do with Crossroads down in Ohio, is he had the infrastructure there, and he could put a good enough base on and hold it there, and it was close enough that other charters could come to it. I mean, they had quite a few fighters. I think there was 28 fighters.
Oh, very nice.
They tapped out. Like, that was the most that they were going to do. And we also did pool style, so almost like World Cup. So everybody fought, rather than single elimination, everybody fought at least 3 fights, because there was 4 people to a pool, and then the top 2 then moved on to the single elimination rounds. And so basically we had the top 16 at that point, and it was a Sweet 16 all the way up to the end.
So is TSL kind of moving towards, instead of doing the championship series events more regularly, have regional tournaments?
So that's a good question, but not necessarily. I think in this particular case, what this would normally had been is this had normally been TSL's Battle of Champions.
Yep.
So we had done the first Battle of Champions, which really was the first event we ever did, type of thing, outside of TSL won the first tournament. And so we did this event, and that was when we first kind of realized, oh my goodness, what do we have here? This really could bring more people in to, for that aspect of it, the spectator, the show aspect of it.
Right.
And so really then we did TSL, Battle of Champions 2 last year, and then this year Terry kind of came up with the idea of Ragnarok, is it really thought, Thor, we needed to, we had the mighty North, right? The bold North. So we had to...
The mouth of the North.
Yeah, exactly. So we had to kind of tap into that. Initially, the first trophy of that was going to be a Molnar.
Nice.
Right? So we were going to try to have a big
wish
Thor
it would have
hammer.
been
But to be honest, one of our great sponsors and TSL fighters, Ryan Lannon, with Ronin Custom Armory, etched and basically made some beautiful hand-carved and handmade axes.
Yeah, there's some beautiful... The prizes are beautiful. We don't have any pictures of them. I should have pulled some, but I didn't even think of it. Actually, I don't even think I have any, but I'll maybe post some pictures later for it, or on my Instagram or something when we're actually at the tournament tomorrow. So definitely check all the social medias. I'll be busy on social media all day tomorrow. I'll be doing the commentating for the event, be taping and doing all the fun stuff for it. I'll be on the chat, so anybody watching, not sure if we're doing it on YouTube or Facebook. We'll find that out tomorrow, but as soon as I know, I'll let everybody else know. So that's kind of how the tournament came to be. So now we're going to have the Ragnarok tournament. Is there going to be anything else for the winners?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. As a matter of fact, I was going to make sure the biggest prize, besides the custom axes, the biggest prize is the winner gets an automatic shot and becomes the #1 contender for the Champion League Series belt, which is currently held by Alan Block.
The double champ.
Yeah, out of the Golden Gate Knights area. And so I mean, there still will be the #1. I mean, David Laugenschlatter right now is the #1 contender.
Yep.
For it, followed by I think Russell is also on there.
Russell Bradley.
Yep. I think, and as a matter of fact,
and he's fighting in the tournament tomorrow.
Yes, Russell is fighting in the tournament tomorrow, and they're also David and Russell are fighting at TSL Awakenings which is on the 26th of January.
Yep, January.
That's at the VFW Ballotine in Uptown Minneapolis. So
Oh, very exciting! Can't wait to be down there. That'll be great. That'll be really great.
But they're also the winner of Ragnarok tomorrow will be fighting Alan Block on the main event.
At that event, at Awakening on the 26th of January, 2019. You heard it right here.
Yep.
So let's break down. We're going to go through not the entire card and break down every match because, you know, Charlie's a busy man. He doesn't have that kind of time. He was gracious enough to join me for what was supposed to be a short video, but I have a feeling won't be because we both love the sounds of our own voice.
That's true.
But like we said, you got a first round bye, so your first opponent's either going to be a Tyler Larson or TJ Matthew. TJ you're very familiar with. He's from the Minnesota Charter. He fights in the Destiny gear a lot. If you've watched any of the events and seen him, he's a great fighter. I've definitely seen him fight a few times myself, but I think we're both unfamiliar with Tyler Larson, so that's kind of throwing those wild cards in there because there are 3 or 4 names on the list I don't know. What kind of challenges do those present to you fighters?
So I would say I'm lucky, and a lot of us that have fought in the tournaments are at least lucky in the fact that because we haven't had to fight people before, there hasn't been this idea that you've known your opponent or that type of thing. So outside of the Champions Series, right, the Champions League series, you get a chance to your opponent, you can watch him, you can study film on your opponent, all of those types of things, getting ready for the fight. Outside of it, most of the tournaments we really just pick it and go, right?
Yep.
And so you don't have a lot of time to figure out who you're going to fight, let alone knowing who you're going to fight. So I think that works in sort of in an advantage and sometimes disadvantage. I put it this way: I got beat at Crossroads by Jay Marston, and he was. Or Madsen, sorry, and he was. I mean, I might even still be getting it wrong, but because he's brand new, literally brand new. He was out of an SCA background. I believe this was his first event altogether, and we went down to sudden death, and he took it to me, and he got me good and clean at that. So it was so we're again. I think that also shows with the growth of TSL. So, and it means that. It could be anybody's game. I mean, there are a couple.
There's 18 fighters on here, and literally, it is tough. It is tough to call. I mean, you are one of the favorites, I would say, as well as looking at it, a Russell Bradley, Will Coxon always brings it. I'm very familiar with him. Jimmy Sorrell, I think, coming out of the opening round. Someone who doesn't. Steve Matson, obviously.
Steve Matson is the former champ, and the current. Consolation bracket champ. So, and by the way, the only reason he made it to the consolation bracket is because I beat him in sudden death getting there. And so literally, if it hadn't come down to that, he very well could have taken maybe Alan Block again, and
reclaimed one of his belts.
Exactly, and been back-to-back champion.
Yeah.
So it's so much of it ends up with particular matchups. So that is, although I will tell you, I've seen, and we can start with that if you want to give a quick 2-second update on that first match. Steve Matson is versus Jerry Chubb.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. That was one of the ones I highlighted as well.
Now Jerry is very classically trained. He's an SCA background. He's got a HEMA background. So it'll be a very good fight technically wise because you'll see 2 technical fighters. No offense to Jerry, though, I expect Steve to kind of get through that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And again, not anything to Jerry, again, it'll be a good fight because it'll be 2 classically trained fighters on it. But Steve's
got to be the favorite in that one.
I think, to be quite honest, I think Steve is the favorite for the whole tournament.
The tournament? I could easily go with that. I mean, I really, honestly, as being a former champion, I think Tony Lucian. He's also another one I've seen fight. He fights in the Blue Power Ranger.
Yep. And I think, and that's
gear.
An interesting way. Tony is fighting Dane, who's our young Wampa, right? So he's our young. He started with us at 14. He's been fighting with us now for almost 3 years. So he's almost 17 now. So 16.
Yep.
Watching him grow and things like that. He's able to participate in this particular tournament through a lot of different types of special. His parents and his grandparents are all going to be there and things like that.
Right. He'll have a big contingent in the crowd.
Absolutely. But I think that's going to be a great matchup. I think Tony and Dane, it's a good way to bring Dane up into his first into his first real tournament experience.
Yeah.
With a good fighter.
Kevin Cook and Nick Lafante. That I know Kevin's a great fighter. Nick, I'm not as familiar with, but you said you kind of knew him a little bit. What do you expect out of that matchup?
Well, so here's the other thing. Kevin is, nobody talks about Kevin, but Kevin is an exceptional fighter, and I think Kevin is one of the favorites as well for this. Now, again, it depends. I've only seen Russell fight a couple of times, and Russell is very good. He's also classically trained. He's a fencer, and he also does a lot of other HEMA work, I think. So with the historical European martial arts. So I know he does longsword. I know he does rapier. I know he does like shield, dagger, and all sorts of different disciplines on it. You know it better from that ESPN fight. Kevin has the longest reach in TSL.
Yep.
He is longer when he puts his hands down than when he stands up, and he's pretty damn tall when he stands up.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
I fought Kevin, and I beat Kevin in a Champion League event, but it's because we had to go all 3 rounds. He took it to me in the first round, and if you only have a single elimination, first points to 10, and you're not ready for that reach, he has at least 3 or 4 points on your legs where you think there's no way
he can't hit me from that distance, and he still does. Yeah.
And it took me literally having to run around and tire him out in the 3rd round that I could finally beat him. And
so
even then,
with
so
a 1
close.
round 10-point first 1 to 10 wins, that's gonna be that he's a tough out. He really is a tough out in the tournament. Russell has a tough first round matchup, I think, in Mike Brundenell.
Mike, okay, so Mike is interesting. Mike is he calls himself the manic martial artist, because he dabbles in a little bit of everything and never really got down on one thing. He has been working relentlessly. He's one of our newer fighters, and I guess only within the past year, right?
I remember him from TSL3.
Yep. So he's been around for a little while, but and he comes a lot, and he fights, and he's but he's a little all over the map. He's not quite sure what his style is yet. He's capoeira trained, so he's got that Brazilian kind of dancing form.
Yep.
He gets low to the ground sometimes on that. I think Russell should pretty much take that one. No offense to Mike.
No, we're just making predictions here. No offense to anybody. So we'd end up with Russell and Kevin in round 3. I think that would be a great match. I expect to see you probably versus Josh Wilcoxon in round 3. To be honest, I know we're not going to talk about yourself and stuff like that, but I can. Mr. Riley versus Jimmy Sorrell. I think Jimmy makes it past James just because I'm unfamiliar with James.
Yeah.
But Jimmy versus Aaron, I think, could be a fun match. That could be an entertaining bout between those two gentlemen.
And to be honest, I think James and Jimmy have fought before.
Jameis, yeah.
I thought that they had fought in one of the Champion League series, if not, but that should be. Jimmy is another one, another favorite. I think it can go. He hasn't had any tournament experience, right? Meaning he hasn't been in that yet, and literally. His first Champion League series fights earlier this year were his first fights.
Was that versus Kevin for Awakening?
It could have been his very first fight. Absolutely. So so he's a wild card too, and he is he's young, he's quick, he's tall, he's athletic.
He called himself Gumby-esque on the ESPN broadcast. So take that what you will.
Exactly. He kind of overwhelms his opponents. He really kind of gets up on them, and is so athletic that he can make those overreaching strikes. And if he misses, he has the ability to recover quickly and come back. So like if somebody were to come and make a lunging move and miss, that's an opportunity for somebody to come in. He's quick enough to come back on it. So it'll be. I do think Jimmy will have that fight on it, and Jimmy versus Aaron. That'll be an interesting fight.
Yeah, that will be an interesting fight. Well, honestly, I am so excited for tomorrow's tournament. I can't wait to get there, get set up, start the broadcast, and start calling these 21 matches, because there's nothing more I love than calling, crazy Saber action, and that's what we always get at these Saber Legion events. If you are in the Eagan area tomorrow, October 20th, come down and join us. I think it's like $10 at the door or something like that. It's definitely worth the price of admission. Starts at noon, a little bit of an early start time, but we'll be done, I think, about 6 o'clock is, I think, when the out time is. So, yeah, if you're in the Eagan area, come check it out. It will be available online. I don't know where, but I will let you know when I do. I want to thank Charlie very much for joining me today. Your insight was invaluable. This video does not happen without him. Let's be real. I don't know that much. So, all right, final predictions. Your prediction for winner of the Ragnarok tournament.
My prediction for the winner of the Ragnarok tournament is Steve Madsen.
Steve Madsen? I thought he was gonna say himself. No, I knew you wouldn't. My pick actually is, I think it's gonna be you and Steve in the final. Because you're on separate sides of the bracket, and then I think it's a coin flip, but it's probably gonna be Steve. But yeah, that's it. Thor, Charlie, it was a Base Boy Banner production. We'll see you on the next video. Like, share, subscribe. Go check out the Saber Legion stuff, all our stuff. You know what to do. You know where to find us. Charlie, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Dude.